Hey everyone. Um, a slight departure from my usual content today, but this is something that just is really on my mind right now, and I don't know, it's really capturing my attention, and I'm curious to see what other people think. The five fucking people who are gonna see this video within the next like year. Um, but so I just got finished watching a video from a channel called Royal Graphics. Um, just heard of it today, but I've still got it open on my PC, which is just across the room from me, so I can read you the title. It's Pax Russica: Will Russia's Defeat Lead to More Wars? Um, and this follows some content that I've been watching in general lately. For example, Caspian Report does a lot of work that I just kind of, I'm on my lunch break at work or whatever, and I'll pop on one of those because I'm that weird motherfucker that spends my lunch break listening to like the situation between Central Asian states fighting over the Fergana Valley, shit like that. Uh, I don't know why. I'm a weird person, but it does have me thinking, like, for example, in the video, he raised up some good points about like the fighting in Nagorno Karabakh between Armenia and Azerbaijan, um, and the fact that Armenia invoked the CSTO's like mutual defense article, kind of like NATO's Article 5, isn't it? Oh man, I'm an American and I don't even know which NATO article is the the collective defense one, but um, you know what I'm getting at. They invoked that article with the CSTO, and it didn't seem like there was a whole lot of intervention on the part of the CSTO between Armenia and Azerbaijan. There was a ceasefire, and it wasn't as bad as the war a year or two ago that really erupted between Armenia and Azerbaijan and Nagorno Karabakh. Um, so I'm thankful for that, but also like it is true that like it seems like the CSTO is faltering with the heavy losses that Russia is sustaining in Ukraine, and just the fact that their reputation is just shattered because everybody used to be so afraid of Russia, and now I don't think really much of anybody is. Ukraine isn't, and if Ukraine isn't afraid of Russia, then who the fuck is, honestly. um, so I'm really thinking now, like particularly from the perspective of an American, which I will preface this by saying I know it's very American of me to like center my country and everything, but the fact of the matter is this is the country that I live in, and so it's most relevant for me personally to be thinking about it from this perspective. So I'm not trying to do the thing where I'm like, oh, everything is about America all the time. But for me, this is where I live. And so this is how I'm thinking about it. Because if my country doesn't get involved, it's not going to affect me much. It will affect everyone, I think, if tensions in Central Asia just take the fuck off, like it's sadly looking like they might. Um, for example, so much of the world's cotton comes from, I think, Uzbekistan, so if things get fucked up there, like it's gonna fuck up the supply chain for everybody. Prices are gonna go crazy, and it's gonna be a lot like how we saw fuel prices go crazy with this invasion of Ukraine. It's gonna affect everybody to some extent or another. Being that I'm an American, I'm pretty well insulated from a lot of this, but not all of it, and especially if America gets involved more directly. That's something I'm wondering about. I don't really know. I'm not as educated on this shit as I would like to be. Um, but I'm just curious, like, if things really take off between Armenia and Azerbaijan, for example, um, will America get involved? I know that it seems like Turkey has a relatively close relationship with Azerbaijan, gives them a hell of a lot of military equipment. Um, And the US is kind of friends with Turkey. I mean, Turkey is a NATO power, but they do seem to kind of play both sides a little bit from time to time, just depending on what benefits them. Maybe everyone does that, but I feel like Turkey especially has a a bit of a reputation for some shady shit as far as that goes. Um, so would we risk damaging our relationship with Turkey to step in on Armenia's behalf, or would we just watch while Azerbaijan basically does everything they can to wipe Armenia off the map, and God only knows what they would do to all the Armenian civilians in the newly acquired Azuri territory. um, that's not pleasant to try to imagine, knowing their history. Uh, so that's the thing that I'm thinking about here. That conflict, or like Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, and Uzbekistan over the Fergana Valley and the fuck, I forget what is it, the Oral Sea, the Aral Sea, the one that's fucking disappearing, because they keep damming up the rivers that are flowing from, I think they originate in Kyrgyzstan. They're damming up those rivers to divert water for irrigation for those massive fucking cotton fields, among other crops. And so this, I'm pretty sure it's the Aral Sea, is drying the fuck up. And there's like salt laden dust storms that fucking damage the crops, which means that they need to use even more water from these rivers to like flush out the salt from the crops so that they can try to salvage them. It's a whole fucking, it's an environmental mess, it's a political mess, it's an economic mess. And it seems like the security infrastructure of that whole region is getting a little shaky, more so than it may have arguably already been. Um, and I'm just wondering, like, will America step into that hornet's nest? I know that we haven't previously, and I figure a lot of that probably was because that we're dealing with CSTO countries and their neighbors, all of which former Soviet influence and control in the region, and so modern Russian influence and control. But if Russia has to take a step back because they just don't have the teeth to enforce that shit anymore, does that leave a power vacuum that we might step in to fill? Will we see another Afghanistan type thing where we step in and it's always going to be special forces first? Let's be real. Special forces are going to go in first and do some in the shadows undercover type shit, and then people are going to find out about it and it's going to escalate some, and then eventually we're going to get around to the point where it's like Iraq after we captured Saddam, where it's more of like a peacekeeping, nation building, suppressing insurgencies type of operation. Would we do something like that somewhere like Nagorno-Karabakh or Tajikistan or something like that? I don't know. I really don't know, and I'm curious to see what people have to say. It's worrying, and I'm not the biggest fan of my country's government, and I truly believe that America has like an imperial mindset to it, or a colonial mindset, or really, if nothing else, like a cultural imperialism, where we want everyone to be on our side, and if you aren't on our side, God save you. Is kind of a mindset that we have. And I hate that. I really hate that. And I think the American government has committed acts of genuine fucking evil in the world more than once. And so I worry about that. But at the same time, like, I also worry about the possibility that Azerbaijan might take advantage of Russia's weakness and try to exterminate Armenia. And what if the world kind of just turns a blind eye and nobody steps in? I almost wonder, would it be preferable for America to do another Afghanistan type thing in order to play world police there and at least hopefully try to gain some stability? Would that be better than letting them duke it out and, hoping somehow they both walk away? Um, I don't know, man. It's hard shit. It's a heavy topic. Um, I'm gonna have to cut here, and I'll be right back. I really need to organize some thoughts. Okay, it was the Aral Sea that I was thinking about, and I also forgot to mention the recent unrest in Kazakhstan that Russia intervened in. Um, would that flare up again? Would they be able to step in again? Because the thing is, for better or for worse, I definitely know their tactics have been a bit heavy-handed at times, but the Russian Federation has played a kind of security peacekeeping role in all of these places. I mean, you've got all these like breakaway nations or attempted breakaway nations. We're talking about like South Ossetia. We're talking about Abkhazia. Maybe even fucking Transnistria might see some problems after all of this. I don't know. There's there's just so many potential flashpoints of conflict, as noted in the video that I mentioned at the beginning of this video. Um, it worries me. um, my best hope is that conflict doesn't kick off like we think it will, or um, maybe the CSTO does still have some bite left to it. Maybe they will step in if it gets bad enough. Um, I don't know. Uh, if I had to come up with like a perfect outcome or something as per like what I think, um, I really can't say. Not in any realistic terms. Of course, the idealist in me is like, how about we just don't have wars anymore and everybody leaves each other's borders the fuck alone? And if you have an exclave of a bunch of ethnic Armenians that happen to live kind of trapped within this crazy fucking border. How do I put it? These terribly drawn borders between Azerbaijan and Armenia. Um, maybe Azerbaijan should just be cool about it and leave them alone. Of course, that would be great if the world worked that way, but I'm afraid it doesn't. Um, and so within that how would we put it, that framework of reality, um, it's not going to be all peace and trade and cultural exchange as I wish it would be. Um, and so, out of the realistic options, which one do I think is best? I just don't know. Um, obviously, which one offers the least bloodshed and destruction? I just don't personally think I really have an idea of which option would lead to that. Um, yeah, I don't know. These are some half-formed thoughts on my part. I just got home from work a little bit ago. It's like 3 or 4 in the fucking morning as I'm recording this. I've just come home from 10 hours in a factory. I'm a little fried, and I'm also undereducated on this topic. Um, maybe better than most of my countrymen, but not a whole lot. But it's just something that like it's really interesting to me, but it's also kind of concerning. Um, I don't know. I just felt like I wanted to have like a dialogue about it. I don't want to like soapbox and tell people what to think because I know damn well that I don't know enough to tell people what to think. Um, I'm kind of hoping other people might tell me something about what to think, honestly. Um, it's just some thoughts I had. I mean, honestly, even up to like a year ago, I was starting to wonder like, does the conventional idea of war even exist anymore? Like, obviously, there are like insurgent things going on. Um, for example, in I can't name a specific country, the Sahel, um, that region of Africa. There's some shit going on there that's pretty solidly within the territory of like a pretty hot conflict, we'll say. I don't think Syria is necessarily settled down. They're still fighting. There's Yemen, Saudi Arabia, shit like that is still going on. But as for America, it really feels like at this point we kind of just have like the CIA doing shit and special forces doing shit in places like Latin America and Africa, and to some extent still the Middle East. Um, and it really started to feel for a minute like that was just all we were going to do for the foreseeable future. Is like grunts are a thing of the past. It's all like Delta Force and SEALs or straight up hardcore intelligence operatives, and that's about it. Um, it really started to look like that was just the future of quote unquote war as from the American perspective. And now I'm wondering all over again, are we going to do another world police, nation building, security force type thing like we did in Iraq and Afghanistan? um, because these Central Asian powers, I mean, Tajikistan doesn't have too much going for it, but like Uzbekistan, they have the cotton thing. They do have some natural resources. Kazakhstan is a huge fucking place. A lot of land. I mean, these powers can actually be pretty important, frankly, more so than a lot of people realize. I think a lot of my countrymen saw Borat, and they still picture the Romanian villages that the movie was filmed in as like, oh yeah, that's all Kazakhstan is. Just total bullshit. Um, definitely not all Kazakhstan is. Um, so I think a lot of people underestimate just how much of an economic and frankly climate crisis could be coming from conflict between these nations. Um, it's not something that you want to just say, oh, that's their problem, whatever. It will be everybody's problem if it happens to some extent or another. Just like the Ukraine thing. I never expected that. Well, first of all, I never expected Russia to full scale fucking try to invade Ukraine. Even after they took Crimea and Donbass, still, this was unexpected for me. But even so, among all of the consequences of this, the one that I found like the most like, damn, really, was the thing with like the wheat production and Egypt being totally screwed over by the disruption of wheat moving out of Ukraine. I never in a million years saw that coming. I'm sure there are a lot of people that are way more educated on this shit than I am that totally saw it coming, but I, as a layman, was where did that come from? But that's just the thing is like that's an example of what I'm talking about here, where we would, you might never expect that some shit going down in Uzbekistan would have complications that trickle down all the way to you, but it really might. It probably would. So I feel like this maybe should be talked about more. I would like to see more information on this. I would like to see more perspectives on this. And I especially am interested in the moral discussion. Sorry, I can't talk for shit. I think I might have like a stutter or something. Um, but the moral implications of American intervention. Fuck, really can't talk. American intervention of any sort, but especially the military kind, as like a peacekeeping force, at least on paper. Because I know America doesn't do anything out of the kindness of its own heart. I know that they would want something in return, but would it be better for America to like step in and expect a return on their investment per se, versus just watching this happen? The world sucks. Um, War sucks. I hate all of this. I wish the Cold War never happened. I wish World War II never happened. All of this goes back even older than that. There's a lot of things that just straight up should never have happened that did, and now we're stuck dealing with the consequences, and it feels like there's just no good option here. There are only varying shades of horror awaiting us ahead. And I just, whichever one is the least terrible is the one that I would like. I don't know which one that is, though. I'm curious to hear your thoughts. For anyone who is ever going to watch this, be the first and only comment. But, anyways, that's what I'm using on right now. And I hope this has brought something new to somebody's attention. Um, but there it is. That's what's on my mind right now. What's on yours?